Hi, folks. I'm Matt Lisk, the host of the Interns Unplugged series for internexus.com, where we chat with folks involved in all aspects of the recruiting and onboarding of Gen Z students for internships and entry-level jobs. Today, I am fortunate to have join us an early career coach, Shriya Arora from topmate.io, who is going to share with us the work she does as a side venture to help those on their career journey in addition to her own very successful career. So, Shriya, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Matt, for having me. It's really exciting to be here. I'm really looking forward to our
Absolutely.
conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So, tell us a little bit about your career journey. How did you, what inspired you to become an early career coach, and how did you get started in it?
Perfect. Yeah. It's a really roller coaster ride for me. I was a scientist before. I have a master's in chemistry. In 2019, I started a corporate, I joined the corporate world as a scientist for an organization back in India, where I was born and brought up. And what happened, I met the first mentor of my life, the first coach of my life. He was the board of director. He had a PhD, but he was on the board of that organization. And I saw how he used to balance the technical expertise that he had, as well as, being on the board, managing the organization, managing the business and everything. I'm like, being a scientist, I guess I can do that too. It's not that difficult. And there was an opportunity for me to work on a merger and acquisition project for that company in Japan. I interviewed for that. I took that on, and he was the one handling that project, leading that project, and I had the opportunity to work 6 months with him and learning how business is important for an organization. Yes, having those technical expertise is required, but how we can balance that. And that was a time, I guess, I took a turn. The scientist took a pause. I enjoyed dealing with data, having those conversations with the clients, going on those trips to Tokyo as well. That was really fun.
Oh, yeah.
And from there, it took a turn. I did a lot of projects on how to increase the efficiency of the organization. And post that, after 2 years, I joined Deloitte as a risk advisory manager for them. And that was the time when a lot of organizations were going through digital transformation because COVID had just hit us. It was 2021. And working with those clients, identifying the root causes, how we can improve the business, and how we can integrate data more now in this time. That's where I fell in love with data, I believe. And I thought of, okay, let's see what this can take a turn. And I came to US to do my second master's in business analytics. And it has been so fun. I graduated in December. I also did an amazing internship as a data analyst at Genentech Roche, that's located at South San Francisco. And I just completed my 3 weeks as a product manager at Autodesk now. So the journey started from as a scientist, me being a product manager, working with engineers and data analysts and everyone. Yeah, it was a entire 360 180-degree turn that I took. uh,
Yeah.
while doing all of that, I realized that there are so many points where I felt like, oh, I don't know this. And I wish I had someone in my life who could guide me in that direction. And that was one of the main reason I do this now through LinkedIn and through TopMate, where people can come and we can have conversation about what they want to do. Just before our call today, I was helping, a person who is giving an interview Monday morning to a recruiter, and how to do that. We have worked around his resume and prepared the interview. So that's where I felt that gave me peace. That okay, because I was alone in my journey, I had to struggle. I don't want that to happen for everyone, and especially now in the job market with it's too tough. It's tough to have yourself identified. It's tough to stand out, and how we can do that, that's where I guess it comes from for me.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I know um, the job market has been tough for not just folks looking for entry level jobs, but
Yeah,
people with like lots of
of
experience
experience.
too, right? You mentioned LinkedIn, and so if your feed looks like my feed, I see a lot of big layoffs. I see a lot
Yeah,
of impacted resources, and these are people with lots of experience. And so
true.
I can only imagine for the students who are just now coming into the job market and seeing what's happening, it's got to be frustrating, right? I
Yeah.
would imagine that's sort of the theme of the coaching that you're doing. You're hearing from folks, they're either
Right.
confused or frustrated. Or so tell me sort of a little bit more about the nature of the coaching, what you help people with, because there's so many aspects to finding a
Yeah.
job, right? So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about that.
So it starts with a discovery call with me. So there are one is my LinkedIn network, people who may not know me personally, but they're also I'm an alumni of so many institutes of 3 degrees. So people reach out to me through that channel as well over LinkedIn directly. They can schedule a quick 15-20 minute call with them just to understand what they're looking for. And then I guide them. If they are looking for specific resume review, we do that. We go over what kind of roles they are targeting, and based on those roles, how the resume should look like. Uh, a lot of people have this confusion between, oh, I need to apply to 500,000 jobs, but they fail to understand that how important your one piece of paper, your resume is, and how much impact it makes. So that is my focus, where I try to balance quality versus quantity for them. That, okay, we'll be applying to a lot of jobs, but yes, working through the resume based on the job that we are applying to. And it can then go more specific too. If they have targeted 5 jobs that they want to apply to, we go from job to job, how the resume should look like and how it should change. This is the resume part of it. The second part comes from if someone wants to do a pivot like I did in my career. I was a scientist. I came into data field. I did an internship in data analyst, and made my part to product manager. How that can happen? What are the skills that are required to do so? What's the balance of technical and soft skills and behavioral skills you need to have, to stand out? And other than that, if you have your interviews coming up, like I said, I did that with one of the person in the morning, be it the recruiter call, be it the call with the hiring manager, how to put your stories out. We have everything on our resumes. I feel where we fail to understand or why we are not able to connect with the team we are interviewing with, because we fail to tell an amazing story to them. They are there to hire you. It's not that they don't want to hire you, but if you're not able to tell the correct story, why this happened, what's the impact, they just don't want to know that this particular tool and you did this, how you did this, why you did this. Focusing on how you communicate all of that. It's all around. Yeah, mostly the coaching revolves around that, helping them understand the importance of behavioral skills as well, and leadership skills as well, as important as the technical skills that they showcase in their resumes. Yes.
That's great. So I'm assuming that there's some themes as folks engage with you. Like, what do they struggle with the most? Like we talked about, obviously a lot of different aspects, right? The resume, the interview, what's the stumbling point for college students who are sort of entering the job market? What is the thing that they're struggling with the most?
One thing, Matt, that's really common among all of them, this past month has been like I've talked to at least 50 individuals. And one thing which is very common is not having a plan, not having a direction to, okay,
Yeah.
this is the role that I'm interested in, or this type of industry that I'm interested in. It's right now, it's like, okay, I'm gonna apply everywhere, but that will not help, because you are not kind of, your resume is not like that, your skills are not like that. One thing that I tell everyone is, sit down for one day, list down all the strengths that you have, and where does that fit well. For me, I identified my strength that yes, I am a good communicator, I can be a leader, but I'm good at analytical thinking and data. So product manager is something that brings that combination for the teams, and that's how I targeted more of data strategy and product management roles, and that worked out for me. So everyone who is graduating, and even people who are out there with 2-3 years of experience, just
Mhm.
having that, okay, everything is going around AI and data, and just blindly going towards that will not work. You'll have to have a direction, you'll have to identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then upskill yourself if you want to go in that particular direction. Just knowing SQL and Python will not make you a good data analyst. You need to understand how to work around data. You need to understand the college projects that we do are very different from the work that we have to do on job.
Right.
So yes, having that lack of direction, I guess, is something which is pretty common, and I do work on that area as well. My posts on LinkedIn or the communications that I have are around mostly, yeah, this area.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you touched on AI a little bit as a potential destination, but AI is here, right? And automation and sort of all these things to make life in theory easier. Um, Depends on where you are in your career, whether learning this kind of stuff is easy or not. But how should early career professionals really prepare for the future of the job market, knowing that things like AI and automation are sort of coming to the forefront?
Yes, so there's two aspects to this. With AI being here, previously prior to that, your interviews used to look like you writing codes and they're making you write SQL codes and everything. They still
Right.
do that, but they're not looking for the exact match of, okay, this is the exact correct code, but they're looking for how you think, how your thought process is now.
Mm,
So me as a student have to kind of work in that direction where I pick up projects. I just don't take a data set and explore it using SQL. No, I need to have a business case where I can solve a problem. I can create a product out of itself. With the help of AI now, you have ChatGPT, Perplexity, every day a new AI coming in, a new chatbot coming in, how you can actually make a product out of it.
mm,
And that will help you showcase your skills more rather than just having SQL expertise or Python expertise. And along with that, being a good storyteller. I This has worked for me beautifully for the past 5 years. Even if I've done not a huge project, but I'm able to tell them why I like this project, why I picked up this project, and what impact it made. Is something that has worked in all the interviews or whenever I try to explain my project. Along with that, as you also touched on automation, I believe if you can inculcate that as students in your daily life, you can build something out of it, and you can communicate that to the hiring team, people who are recruiting you. You can share those experiences that, okay, I built a chatbot. I saw that day on LinkedIn, one guy prepared a chatbot which could, based on your resume and the job description, prepares your fresh resume. And these are the things that students are doing right now, and you will be able to learn so many new skills doing that. You don't have to stick to just writing code and having an understanding how to write a code, but how to actually implement that in a business case for an organization. That is what now the students who are graduating needs to focus on, I believe.
that's great. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're calling the interview storytelling.
Yeah.
Because I think that's critical for folks to understand whether they're looking for internships or entry level jobs. Even it's and I used to work for a big six consulting firm a long time ago. And when we would interview students, we had what we called critical behavior interviews, right? And it was kind of those same prompts. Tell me a time when you were in a group project and somebody didn't pull their weight,
Yeah.
and those kinds of scenarios to get people to really think about sort of what their experience is. Because a lot of times, and I wonder if you find this too, as a hiring manager, they know exactly what they did, but they have a hard time telling the why, right? Or
Oh, yeah.
telling the how, right? And so, what sort of tips and tricks do you give students to really think about this as more of a storytelling and sort of really drawing on your experience? Because they'll see a bunch of resumes, right? And they all say they're good at Python or they're good at SQL or whatever, but um, it's how you tell that story is what ultimately separates you. So, what sort of tips and tricks do you have for folks who maybe struggle a little bit with that?
Yeah, so I'll divide it into two parts. One, before you
Sure.
get an interview, when you are submitting applications, your resume, your cover letter, and everything.
Yeah.
So when I work on resumes with individuals, I tell them how you're going to tell your story in an interview. Your bullet points should also look like that. You're
Mm,
utilizing the same star method that we say every time to tell a
right.
story. Okay, this is what the problem statement was, and this was the impact that this is what I did, and this is the impact that happened for that organization. And if you have used certain. So when we mention skills, those skills should be visible in the experience that you have, not just the
Mm,
technical skill section that you're okay, I know
right.
this, and this. Because any hiring manager or any recruiter will be in a second able to identify if you actually know those skills or not based on the experience that you have. And for students who do not have that kind of professional experience, you have to showcase that with your projects, interesting projects. If you have developed a model, just don't write that I developed a model with this accuracy. Why I picked up this project, why I analyzed this data set, and why this was important for me, why I'm passionate about. And second thing that comes is the cover letter. And I have identified past six months ago, I just creatively did this thing where the cover letter format is something that didn't work for me. People who just tell, oh, I'm interested in this role, this and this. No, I use that to tell my story. These are the 5 top skills that the job requires, and I tell story about each of the skills about me. This is how I did in this situation, and that's why I had this skill. And similarly, for each organization that I used to apply to, I have my cute little picture on the top, so that you have to connect with the team you're applying to. They need to feel that you're putting that extra effort.
Right.
And then when you come to the interview rounds where you're communicating with the team, uh, even though your project is very technical, even though you are in a technical round, I still remember when I was interviewing for Autodesk with my, it was a director level round, 2 technical, engineering leads, everyone out there. But even though the discussion was around all the technicalities, what worked for me is actually identifying why this is important and why this happened, why I did this, and this is the impact it made. For example, during my internship, I used a tool called Data IQ where you build in automations and do all that analysis, and in you have those dashboard. As too technical individual, I can just say I used Data IQ, I ran some queries, I did data pre-processing, and then we had those insights available. But I wanted to give them the entire backstory, why this project was important. I worked on, medical data, why that medical data is important for the company and their patients. Now, which teams are affected if this data does not, process properly. Being doing that automation, I saved so much of time, and the teams were able to have those insights really quickly. With those insights, they were able to take these decisions. So you, like, one way I'm just telling that, okay, I use these tools and these I have these technical skills, but on the other hand, I'm also explaining the why behind it. So in every sentence that you speak out to the hiring team, you need to answer that why for them automatically. They should not in the follow-up question come up with, but why did you do that?
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
really important. Yeah.
yeah. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So in your coaching experience, what industries or roles do you see as the most promising for young professionals today? We talked a little bit about AI. That seems to be where everybody's heading, but like what other industries or even job types do you think are explosive growth over the next few years for young professionals?
I'll not specifically say the titles because, to be honest, now titles are confusing. They say something, but the
Oh
requirement is
yeah, for
something.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, anything related to bringing out products in the market, be it any industry. Like if I talk about, I've been in healthcare industry, it's booming. The integration of AI, how we can, very carefully integrate AI with healthcare is important. Healthcare and pharma both. Uh, all the tech industries, yes, understanding, even if you are a data analyst or a business analyst, you should have an understanding of how product is made and what your role is in that scenario. uh, and the third industry that I feel is, if someone wants to target as well, the content and media industry. There are so many companies coming out which are integrating now marketing with AI. How you do that? A/B testing happening. There's so many startups which have come up helping organization, because there's so much data now, and people with AI, people with automation, bringing in so much data on a daily basis. How do you actually use that? How do you know which is working for the user have such a small span of attention time. So industries around which are integrating AI with marketing or personalization for the user, one is that industry. Healthcare industry, yes. uh, and if I talk about technology, it's huge. Like you can go in anywhere, any product, all the fan companies we do have here. But I believe those small startups, if students are, a little bit scared about, okay, what will I do in this huge organization? The best place to start with, maybe try with a startup, try with a, summer internship with them, because you'll have such an hands-on experience on an actual product which is being developed. So that's something the graduating students should target, I believe.
That's great. What advice do you have for students and recent grads who feel a little stuck in their job search? And I know this advice probably applies to even folks with 20 years of experience, right? The sentiment on LinkedIn is, hiring is slow, and it's hard to find jobs regardless of your background. So, tell us a little bit about how you would advise somebody who feels just completely stuck.
Yeah, it was slow, to be honest. This year, 2025 is really good
Yeah,
based on all the data that's coming out. The LinkedIn report
yeah,
just came out yesterday, and it's increasing. The jobs are increasing in the market. Even for the recent graduates or people who are with 5 year, 10 of years of experience, understand that it's not just applying 100,000 applications together. Same, finding that balance, working on your resume, because then if you submit the same resume everywhere and you do not receive a response, it will not work like that. And one thing that I used to do wherever I used to apply for a job, before even applying, I'll research the team over LinkedIn, anywhere that I can, on any platform, to understand what kind of projects they actually do. If I can find an alignment in my resume and the work that they do, if I can find those key terminologies that they understand better, that I can integrate in my resume, and if I can reach out to them prior to applying, and they have helped me. People have referred me even though they don't know me, because I
right,
reached out to them on LinkedIn. uh, Apart from that, while you're applying, you've done that. If you do not get a referral, reach out to them, tell them that you have applied. Just bombard them, bombard the entire team. At least one individual will, kind of respond, one or two. This has happened with my internship. Even prior to applying, I reached out to 15 people, and actually one of them took my interview, whom I had
mm,
communication. So it can work. It's about luck, if they respond, if they do not respond. Doing application is one thing, but also making sure that you network with the right people at the right time is important. And not having just that fixed template, okay, I applied for this job. You have to spend time on researching people and find that common ground where you can start a communication. If someone messages me and I know that this person has looked at my profile and has spent 2 minutes at least, I'll be more curious to have a communication with that individual. uh, and other than that, just not focusing on just the applications. It's also, what if the interview comes up and you are not prepared? So always having that balance of, okay, I'll spend 50% of my time applying, I'll give the another 50% to upskill myself, develop something, take sessions, go to conferences, learn about the technology that's coming out. Anything that motivates you and bring out that confidence in you that you can show in your interviews, that's very important. Yes, with AI and everything coming up, people with 5-10 years of experience trying to come into data field now say that people don't want them because they don't have those skills. But also the graduating students, they also feel the same, that no one wants them because everyone wants
right,
experience. So it
yeah,
cannot happen that way. It's not that they do not want experience, or they don't want experience. It's that they want those skills in you, and that skills can be showcased not just based on number of experience, but some amazing projects that you can do. That, for example, you were talking about AI. Go out, talk to a restaurant, develop a media strategy for them, a small restaurant. If you know how to code and do all that, you can do that, and that will be your business case or use case, and that you can present during an interview. Now imagine telling this story to the interviewer, and how good the conversation would look like. So I believe, not just saying that, okay, I'm applying and I'm not getting a response, rather than that, bringing that into action. And always having a plan. Like whenever I was applying, my calendar was booked. Okay, this is my time to apply. This is my time to study. This is my time to network. These are the people that I need to message. Before I sleep at night, I have my checklist prepared. This is what I need to do the next day. Am I able to do all of that or not? Uh, and going out and networking. irrespective of expecting any, not having that transactional networking, but just networking like that without expecting it. And it will come around. Uh, People think that it's hard. No one respond to me over LinkedIn and all that. I started this journey through 3 years back through LinkedIn, and every day I see something new happening with me because of this community around me.
That's great.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I heard research, I heard communication, I heard networking, I heard organization, all key aspects to the job search. Um, what about soft skills that that early career professionals should develop in addition to sort of those that we've talked about?
Yes. Uh, Soft skills, people fail to understand how important they are.
Yeah.
Even though you may be great at technical skills, but if you cannot convey that, it will not work out. Uh, what I suggest to people who I work with on their stories and everything, have your experiences written down as stories. Like have those questions, different experiences, in questions, and have those stories written down. And just practice this. People who are not good at communicating maybe take a lot of pauses. For you, what is important is to just reread it again and again, just recite it, record yourself, look at the mirror, sit with a friend. I used to always record myself, time myself, see where I'm taking pauses, which are the correct places where I need to take pauses. Uh, when this is the very common question in every interview, tell me about yourself, and that is the time for you to shine.
Yeah.
And I believe if you cannot build a good story around that, like people tend to just summarize what's there in their resume. No, as a recruiter, if I'm a recruiter, I would like to know your career journey and why you switched from this company to that. What happened that made you go there? And what happened made you go there? Why you did that project, and why that was amazing, which teams you collaborated with, and what you learned through that. So uh, this comes from practicing. No one is good at public speaking, no one is good at
Right.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
All you need to do is practice. You just don't need to practice this just 2 days before your interview, but that should be a consistent process. While you're applying, this should be a goal as well, where you prepare, focus on these soft skills, where you focus on your stories. That's why I told, right, going out, networking with people, going to one thing, living in Bay Area, that worked beautifully for me, volunteering to such events where I get a free pass to go in and meet with people. And I did volunteer at a leadership conference, and I met so many CEOs, you won't believe, who were coming in there because I was handling speakers and they were the speakers. And
Right.
I had those 5 minutes to interact with such amazing people. And everyone told me one very similar thing, that we love people who are authentic, who can tell us why they want to do it, not just because this is the job and they want this job, but they have that passion behind it and the why behind it. And I guess while interviewing for any job, you have to bring out that why everywhere. You have to keep asking that question to yourself, write down your stories well, practice them well. uh, that's how you're going to be good at all those stuff.
That's great. And
Yeah.
you touched on public speaking, and when folks ask me to sort of reflect on my career, and they say, "What is one of the most important skills you ever developed?" I always go to public speaking
Oh yeah.
because whether it's even if it's just a one-on-one interview or if it's a team meeting or an all hands meeting or a conference where you're presenting, like the ability to get up in front of an audience, tell a story, and
Yeah.
do it in a way that's compelling, that gets people to listen and engage, is a skill that serves you in so many different industries and so many different roles. It helps you establish authority. So I am so glad to hear you say that that's really something that you focus on with folks as well. Is
Yes.
it's just invaluable, honestly, and you can develop it in so many different ways, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of mine was growing up, whether it was in church or in some other setting where you had the opportunity to present to groups of people. I always looked for those because, and you don't always get them right, right? Like
Yep.
you'll struggle with it sometimes, but if
Absolutely.
you keep focusing on that really becomes important and serves you well in this
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Go ahead.
As you
Did you
were
have some thoughts?
mentioning that, yeah, I just remembered one thing. Like people used to always ask me, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I always used to tell them that I'm not embarrassed of doing anything because I know, in the whole circle, it's going to serve me well. I will develop something out of it, of any project or any volunteer activity that I do, anywhere I go, anyone I meet. So yeah, you mentioning that you developed that during your time at church, that's something just reminded me of why we
Yeah.
do all those stuff. Even the smallest
Yeah.
thing that we do kind of help us upskill.
Yeah, for sure. So, you talked about a lot of the things to do as part of the job search. I'm curious, there's I don't want to call it controversial, but there's a feature on LinkedIn and it's called Easy Apply. And the theory behind it, right, is making it easier for people to apply for that job. But in a lot of ways, it takes out all the legwork you were talking about. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that feature because I honestly think it's something they should get rid of if I were, the product manager for LinkedIn. But what are your thoughts on that? Because it seems like, you know, it encourages people to apply to things that maybe are not a good fit for them or, are
Yeah.
just allowing them to check the box of, hey, I submitted 500 applications like you had said
Oh
earlier.
yeah. Yeah.
So any thoughts on that?
I'm not a huge fan of that. I never
Yeah,
used to do that kind of applications much because I had a plan that these are the companies, these are the targeted companies, and these are the targeted roles. But for example, if someone who already has a job and just kind of exploring and just want to see if their resume lands somewhere, yes, maybe can start with doing that. They don't want to do all the legwork and everything.
right.
Maybe explore that opportunity. But people who are entering the workforce now, to be honest, the roles which are actually good and does not have that easy apply button, I feel that positions that I've applied to, which actually made me do a little bit of work, in the end, were actually great position that I interviewed for. And I would say not considering, looking for a job, applying for a job as an easy thing. It is not easy. It is hard
Right.
work. And have that mindset that it is hard work and I need to do that and I need to achieve that goal. So not a huge fan. Someone may explore it, but yeah, not something, as you mentioned. I don't think the organization would know anything about me other than that one piece of resume that they have
Right.
taken.
Yeah. And it doesn't even, it depends on how certain companies implement it. There's not even an opportunity for a cover letter, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
miss that opportunity to tell the story as we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Cover letters may actually be even more important than
Oh,
resumes. Uh,
yeah.
uh, it depends on the job, I would imagine, or the level of experience. But um, I think people should wrap their heads around the importance of the cover letter because I feel like it's a little bit of an afterthought. And it
Yes.
feels like sort of like old school, like when you used to have to put stuff in an envelope and mail it to somebody, but now you're sort of everything's electronic. But any thoughts on cover letters and their importance in this?
Yes, actually, we were talking so much about AI. Now imagine, because everything is going through systems and they're analyzing that, there needs to have some humane touch to it. How are you going to connect? Okay, you have your resume, but imagine you have one more page to tell your story, and that's where your cover letter comes in. Just don't waste it by writing, "Oh, I'm interested in this role, and these are the skills." You have already done that in your resume. Present
Yeah,
something amazing in that. Maybe present your journey line. I did this, this, and this. These are the skills that I gained. And maybe put a couple of your pictures if you can, professional. You spoke at a conference, you were at a hackathon. That's one piece of paper giving you an opportunity to showcase a lot of stuff about yourself. And I believe cover letter are very, very important. And we need to work on that. Like for each application, I don't know how many I have, to be honest, if I look at my Google Drive. But I love doing that. And yes, cover letters are really, really important.
yeah, and it's important too. I think the perception of the cover letter is, oh, I can just write a generic one, right? But
Yeah.
no, right? It should be customized to the opportunity that you're pursuing.
I guess the students or anyone who is applying also look at it. For example, you go out for shopping. What catches your eye? Something that's different, right? So that
Yeah,
has to be in your application. What will catch the eye of the recruiter? Something that's different. So that's how it needs to work, I
yeah,
believe. Yeah.
yeah. I'm in full agreement with you on that. So tell me about a success story from your coaching experience that really stands out to you?
That was actually not a very professional coaching. That so since I'm an alumni of Cal State East Bay, a lot of students reach out to me for guidance and
Sure.
how it should happen for them. And I still remember this girl who recently came from India, messaged me on LinkedIn and like, I would love to talk to you. And I visited. We spent 1 hour together. What her career was before, what she wants to do now, how I did things in my entire 2 year journey, what things that I learned and everything. And the amazing part is that 2 weeks back, I was a Women in Leadership Fellow last year, and this was the new batch coming in. And I was invited because I was an alumni. And when I went there, I saw her there leading so much, so many huge projects, being a president of a club, implementing a great project as a fellow, doing so much out there. She is a part of Women in Tech at Google. So seeing her journey, and when she wrote that post on LinkedIn and she told me that I was a crucial part of that journey, I was the one who inspired her. That was the place where I felt okay, I did something, good for someone. It may not have been through professional coaching where she booked an appointment and everything, but that was really close to my heart. That's one story that's really close to my heart, and I hope I
That's
can
great.
continue doing that. Anyone who can have only little bit help from me or is able to achieve something in their professional journey. Yeah.
That's great. So any books, podcasts, resources that you would recommend for young professionals who are looking to improve their career prospects?
Okay, so podcast. I'm a product manager and I do listen a lot of product stuff as well. So there's
Sure.
Lenny's podcast that I heard a lot. That's focused on product, creativity, and growth. And a lot of product leaders, tech leaders come in that. I do also listen to a podcast called Data Stories. There are two guys who just explain you how many different ways you can present your data. Same, the art of storytelling with data. That's where I learned that from. Books I mostly don't read related to more of product and data, but more leadership skills. Michelle Obama is my favorite. So both her books, Becoming and The Light We Carry, I've read them actually twice. That's something if someone wants to kind of see how she from where she came from and what she is now today and what are the skills that helped her do that. uh, Two really great books. I do read a lot of HBR articles, Harvard Business Review articles. They're amazing. If someone wants to give it a try, and for folks in data field where who struggle to explain technical terms to people in a very simple storytelling manner, there's an article, there's a website called Technically, which does beautiful work in explaining the most technical thing in the most layman language, and I use that a lot. So
I could use that too, for sure.
yeah, that's an amazing thing. I use that a lot during my interviews, making sure that I'm explaining the technical terms in a good way to someone who's out there maybe not have the background knowledge of that. So
Right.
yeah, these are
All
some
great
great.
resources.
Yep.
Yeah. So now is your chance because you've been a candidate, you've been an intern, you've been a career coach. So now's your chance to ask companies or tell companies something about creating a culture that better supports early career professionals. Do you have any advice for companies that may be listening to this podcast and say, how can I make those early career candidates successful in my company?
Yeah. One thing that companies fail to understand is that they think that because we are new, because we are early in our career, we do not have those leadership skills or decision making skills, and they tend to not give projects or a task like that to individuals. But I believe our generation and generation coming after me are amazing leaders, amazing individual contributors as well as team players, and we need to make sure we utilize those skills. And when it comes to internships, companies who are taking in summer interns just don't take it for basic day-to-day tasks. Have specific projects designed for them, because those 3 months are very important for an intern to learn how industry actually works. That can be a huge decision maker point for them. Do I want to pursue this or not? And if they do not get that opportunity where they feel that I have the opportunity to take decision, to communicate, to actually do something useful for the organization, they may not go forward with that path. So thinking that yes, they can be accountable, they are great leaders and they are great decision makers, and giving them that opportunity during that time of internship. And even as new joiners, if you're starting a new position at a company, this is for both company and the person who's joining. Take the effort, have that patience in you, spend those 3 months very closely looking how the team works, what the organization mission is, rather than just jumping into the work right ahead, because you may learn a bit of technical things, and but in the long run you may miss out the most important things what the company wants you to do, or the team wants you to do. So having that patience, and same company giving that time to an individual who's coming in on board. The 3 months onboarding process is very important, and I was lucky in all the organization that I was a part of. I had such an amazing onboarding process that led to more success in the role in the future for me.
That's great. So Shriya, we've touched on so many different topics, such great practical advice. I really appreciate you spending the time with us today. So tell our audience where they can find you and learn more about your coaching services.
So the best place to find me is LinkedIn. I guess we'll be
Yeah,
able
that's
to
where we met.
attach. Yeah, that's where we met. Yeah, and we will attach my LinkedIn profile, obviously. And my LinkedIn profile has my top mate profile where you can just click it and book a session with me wherever you want to go. If you want to just have a quick chat with me, if you want to directly jump into resume, career guidance, and everything, it's all there. And just in one click, you can book time with me. I mostly spend my weekends doing all of this. So fully dedicated to this. Yeah. So LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Great. Any final thoughts you wanted to share? So many great, like I said, so many great practical tips and tricks and advice for job seekers. But any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess one thing I forgot to say is that because this
Sure.
is such a tiring process, just don't forget to take care of yourself, your health, your
That's
physical and
important.
mental health. Go for a
Yeah,
walk, go for a run, do anything that you like to do. And on the mental aspect as well, have your close one even closer, your family, your friends, cheerleaders around you. Try to stay with the people who are also in a similar journey as yours. Have that hand in hand. Yeah, I guess that's going to help you. And I know it's tough, but consistency and discipline will be able to help you reach the goal that you want to.
that's great. Well, Shriya, thanks again so much. I really appreciate your time today and taking away, unfortunately, from your coaching to spend some time
And
with us.
yeah.
Hopefully you'll be able to get some more folks that you can help this weekend. And we, again, really appreciate you spending the time. And if folks are interested in what Shriya had to say, look for her on LinkedIn, and she will be more than glad to connect and share some of her thoughts. So thanks again. I really appreciate you doing this with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. I love talking. I love this discussion. This is my favorite topic to talk about. Thank you
Great.
so much. Yeah,
Thank you. Take care.
you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.